Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, look, this is what happens when you lose football games. Winning is the best deodorant known to mankind. And if we want to quell all of this, if we want to hush all of the noise, and look, the same answer applies to everything that I've been talking about. You want to change the narrative. You want to get the fan base back on your side. You want to fill up FedEx Field with good guys and fans that are actually cheering for you and not cheering for the opposition. You want players in the locker room to buy into what you're selling. Win. You lose on Sunday. You criticize a player that seems to be somewhat sensitive and a fan base that now is starting to rally behind this player. I find all of this very comical at this point because at the end of the day, Jamin Davis hasn't been good. Okay, he hasn't been good. And he's not the only one. And I don't think the coaching staff has been laying all of the blame on him. This is the thing. The media continues to ask them questions specifically about Jamin Davis. Now, could they have deflected these questions better? Absolutely. Jack Del Rio didn't have to do what he did after the win against Jacksonville during the week of practice leading up to the Detroit game. He didn't have to do that. And maybe if he doesn't say what he said, maybe we're not having this conversation right now. Ron doubling down on what Jack said didn't help the situation. It cast an even bigger light on Jamin Davis's inconsistency. But that's the fact of the matter. They drafted this guy, so they're in the wrong. And we're going to talk about that during the course of this show. They're in the wrong for that because they projected him to be something that he's not. They played him out of position in his rookie season, stunting his growth, and now putting him where he probably should have been all along and not having the production from him that they were looking to get early in this season. That's on them. You did this. You stunted his growth. You put him behind the 8 ball, and now you're trying to expedite the process. That's where you can place the blame on Jack and Ron. However, if you're talking about him not doing what they asked him to do, then yes, he has been out of position. He hasn't used good technique. His fundamentals haven't been good, but he's not the only one. And that's where people have taken umbrage with this whole situation. And I'm like, look, if the media had asked Ron and Jack about Cole Holcomb, Ron even offered this up. He said, I don't think Cole Holcomb played all that well last week either. It's not just Jamin Davis, okay? It's not just Jamin Davis, but the media continues to act. And they're not doing anything wrong, by the way. The media's not doing, this is not the Washington media. I'm not one of those guys, that likes to put everything on the media because they're just doing their jobs. They're following up on Jamin Davis's performance because last week you said it wasn't good enough. He was so-so, okay? And then Jack went on to say he's got to be better, that they were disappointed in his performance, that he was inconsistent and that he needs to play better. So now that we're following up to see if he played better, which he didn't. He did have a sack, though, and he had a sack against Jacksonville that was negated by a penalty. But this is 2 weeks in a row that the guy's gotten to the quarterback. My thing is, stop bitching and complaining about what he can't do and put him in positions to do what he can do, okay? So for those of you who aren't aware of what I'm referring to, Jamin Davis had a post on Instagram yesterday that was cryptic in nature. And okay, so essentially, I'm going to show you the post. I'm going to let you hear the audio that goes along with the post. Now, I looped the audio twice, okay, so that you can hear it twice and understand what's being said. Also, the visuals that go along with it, the clip that he took it from, I don't know if it's necessarily coincidental that the guys in the picture look like they're a part of some mob. It could be KKK, something along those lines. They were hooded, obviously. They had torches in their hand. I don't know what movie this is from. I don't care, honestly. But I don't know if that's a shot at Jack Del Rio, a veiled shot at Jack Del Rio. Right. This is what happens when cryptic posts are made. You start digging into things that maybe don't even need to be probed. But this is what happens when you don't directly say what you mean and how you feel. When you cryptically or you try to be subtle, or in this case, passive aggressive in attacking an issue or an issue with someone, this is what happens. We start digging. You know, the internet mafia and the internet detectives and sleuths come out from the woodworks, and we start making and drawing our own inferences as to what it means. So I'm going to play the clip for you, the audio, and you're going to see the visual. And again, it's from a movie or a show. I don't know which one. I don't know if it's intended to show this imagery going along with the clip, the audio clip, or if he just really wanted the audio and the clip that is being shown, it just happened to have guys that may or may not be a shot at Jack Del Rio. One thing's for sure, the audio is what's important here. Now, the visual could also be a part of this. That's the cryptic nature of this. So I'll let you hear what he posted yesterday. You can read the bottom as well, because he had a teammate, a veteran on his team, and Bobby McCain liked the post, which to me is asinine. And it speaks to a much bigger problem that we're going to address on the other side of this clip. Take a listen.
Together for you ungrateful sons of bitches, and all I can hear is criticize, criticize, criticize. Together for you ungrateful sons of bitches, and all I can hear is criticize, criticize, criticize.
So Jamin Davis posted that clip yesterday on his IG. He has since deleted it. Okay, so initially I was in the thought process and in the camp of, oh, he's talking to the fans. Because in my mind, I'm saying Jamin Davis, military raised, you know, comes from a background where discipline is of the highest order. You're going to respect your authority and authority figures. You're not going to do anything to disrespect them. And so, again, this was all a part of the DNA makeup of what got Jamin Davis drafted in the first round in the first place, right? So in my mind, I'm like, he's got to be talking to the fans. There's no way that a guy raised in the element that he was raised in the environment, reared the way that he was reared in a military family, in an upbringing where discipline and superior and kowtowing and acquiescing to your superiors is something that is expected. So in my mind, I'm thinking he's got to be talking to the fans, because this can't be a Jamin Davis move addressing the criticism from the coaching staff. But if you're talking to the fans, why do you need to take it down? That's my whole thought process. Is if you're talking to the fans, I'm not taking it down. And if someone wants to ask me about the post, I say I was talking to the fans. And if the coaching staff wants to know, were you talking to us? No, I was talking to the fans. I don't need to take it down. But if I'm talking to the coaching staff, and I'm pretty sure he was talking to the staff now after, you know, seeing everything and kind of taking all of this in and him deleting the post, he was talking to the coaching staff. And then to have a veteran like Bobby McCain in the locker room, a guy that is supposed to be a leader on this team. As a matter of fact, is Bobby McCain one of the team captains? I'm not sure about that or not. I gotta remember if they made Bobby McCain a team captain this year or not. I kind of feel like he is a team captain. I don't know offhand. I don't quite remember, but I think. So there were 8 team captains. If I can recall, I probably can call them out real quick. Jonathan Allen. So there were 4 on defense. I think 4 on offense, 3 on defense, 1 special teams. So the 4 on offense were Carson Wentz, Charles Leno Jr., Terry McLaurin, and Logan Thomas. On defense, it was Jonathan Allen, Cole Holcomb. I think it was Bobby McCain. Was it Bobby McCain? I think it was Bobby McCain who was the third defensive captain, and then Tress Way was the final captain. If I'm not mistaken, I could have that wrong. But you can't have a guy that is a veteran leader on his team, especially if he's a team captain, liking that post, especially if he knew the cryptic nature of the post and what Jamin Davis was referring to. What that symbolizes to me is that the players are starting to question the coaching staff, or they're starting to revolt against the coaching staff's outward criticism. Guys don't like to be criticized in the media. You know, if you want to criticize me behind closed doors, fine. Because coaches wouldn't be happy if a player took to the media to criticize their efforts in a game or one of the decisions that they made. Coach went for 2. I didn't think he should have gone for 2 in that spot, but I don't get paid the big bucks. That's why he's in the position that he's in, but I wouldn't have went for 2 there. You don't think Ron would be pissed if someone said that about his decision to go for 2 during the game, the second time against the Lions? Yeah, he'd be pissed off, and he'd address that with the player. So players feel like it should be the same on each side. You don't criticize us in the media. We won't criticize you in the media. We got any issues with you, we come to you like a man. You got some issues with us, you address me like a man, maybe in front of the team if you feel like that's necessary, but you don't take this outside to the media. Maybe that's the stance that they're taking. Whatever the case may be, this is a sign that there is a crack. This is a bit of a fissure right now, okay? That is starting to evolve and form. And if they don't start winning, if this doesn't turn around quickly, you're going to lose the locker room. Jonathan Allen said during his press conference yesterday, I don't blame the coaching staff. That's not my move. I'm going to go out and execute as a player. We have to go out and execute. So I'm not one to blame the coaching staff. You can do that if you want to, but I'm not going to do that. Is that his way of saying, I didn't say that, y'all said that? I'm not going to blame them, but y'all can. I don't know. When you start having guys not believe in the message anymore, and I think we're getting close, because since Ron Rivera has gotten here, there's been consistent pushback from the defensive line. That's been one of the constants, is that they love Jim Tomsula. They love them some Jim Tom. And as soon as he left, you had Matt Ioannidis, who wanted to leave when they brought in the defensive line coach that got fired this August, Sam Mills III. When they brought him in, Matt Ioannidis wanted no part of him. Very quickly, Ioannidis was like, look, man, y'all can trade me. Get rid of me. I don't want to be here. This guy sucks. Okay? That was immediate. They figured that out really quick. Like, this guy is clueless. He doesn't really know what the hell he's talking about. And I think that there's a little bit of frustration from the players that they're often criticized, and the coaching staff doesn't necessarily take enough of the criticism. As a coach, your job is to fall on the sword for your players, even when it's not your fault, just like the quarterback. It's the same thing. As a quarterback, your job is to take the blame even when the blame isn't yours. That's how you endear yourself to your teammates. As a coach, that's how you endear yourself to your players. You have to fall on the sword no matter what, because that's what the job title demands. As a quarterback, you have to fall on the sword even when you didn't do anything wrong. Because when you win, you get all the praise. So when you lose, you got to be able to say, hey, I got to play better. Even if you don't need to play better. You know, I got to play better. I got to lead this team better. That's what a quarterback is supposed to do. Same thing with a head coach. How many times have you heard Bill Belichick criticize openly, outwardly, to the media, his players? The first thing and the only thing you get out of Bill Belichick is, as coaches, we got to do better. We got to coach better. We got to play better. And we got to perform better. That's all you get. A uniform blanket statement. He's not attacking any individual player. He doesn't get into that with the media because it doesn't serve a purpose. These guys have egos. A lot of these guys have been the big man on campus their entire life, going all the way back to Pee Wee football, to flag football. They were the best of the best in high school. A lot of the time, they were the best of the best in college, and that's how they got to the NFL. And so now you're going to criticize them outwardly, publicly, to the media. That's embarrassing, and now players take exception to that. But here's the thing you got to understand with Ron Rivera. And the thing I can always respect about Ron, y'all can say what you want about Ron. Ron has never been one to sugarcoat how he feels or how he's going to conduct business. Ron's been very, very transparent with us since day one from Jump Street. You want to know how? This is from Ron's press conference, the Happy Thanksgiving introductory press conference when he was hired here in January of 2020. I want you to listen to Ron Rivera and what he has to say. And you guys remember this. In case you don't, I'm going to refresh your memory. Listen to what Ron has to say here and think about how it applies to what's going on right now.
Things will begin and end with one simple principle: discipline. I come from a military family where discipline, it isn't taught, it's lived. It's expected from day one. I have a philosophy that every player, every coach, everyone who works for this organization, they'll know it day one. You're not going to play for this team. You're not going to work for this team if you don't have the discipline and the commitment to give us everything you have. No exceptions, no excuses. It's that simple, guys. We have to hold each other accountable. And that's something that we most certainly will do. We'll expect the most from each other. Whether I was in Chicago or Carolina, we're at our very best when the players knew that the coaches had their backs. And this is the thing I'm going to ask from the players. Do it the way we teach you. Do it the way we ask. You do it that way, the success will be yours. Okay? You do it that way, the success will be yours. If you don't, the success is going to be yours, but it's not going to be right. Why? Because if you fail, it's on you. Do it our way. Do it the right way. And if we fail, it's on me. Okay, it'll be on me, the head coach. It's that simple. And I truly believe that. If I ask of you and it doesn't work, I'm to blame.
You heard it. Loud and clear. Ron minced no words then, and he's carrying out that action now. Ron said, do it my way. Do it my way, how we ask you to do it. And I'll take the blame. I'll fall on the sword for you. Do your own shit, however, and I will hang your ass out to dry like yesterday's laundry. You're seeing that come to fruition. He told you from day one off Jump Street, off the rip. Do it my way and we'll have no problems. Whether we're right or we're wrong, I'll take the blame. I got you. Do your own shit, however, and I won't spare any punches. Now, is that the right approach? I can't say what is or isn't. I'm not a head coach. I wouldn't air players out to the media. It doesn't, because the media has their own agenda. And as a coach, sometimes you want to get a message out to your players. So maybe you do go the media route. But to me, attacking or criticizing a player, even if you're disappointed in that player, doesn't make any sense. And to me, the downside of that is greater than the upside. Because if you can't motivate that player behind closed doors, you airing him out to the media, I don't think is really going to change anything. Sometimes it has to be done. Like when Jay Gruden aired out Robert Griffin III, I appreciated that as a fan. I thought it needed to be done because he was attacking players in the locker room. He wasn't taking any blame for what was being done. And I felt like he needed to be knocked down a notch or two. And I think that the players in the locker room appreciated him going out there and airing Robert Griffin III out because it needed to happen. Now, from a career standpoint, it probably wasn't the best move for Jay Gruden to do that, right? But I appreciated that. But generally speaking, I don't think it's advantageous to air out players publicly because, to me, guys are too sensitive. And you're not going to get the intended results when you do that a lot of times. If you want to challenge an entire group, whether it's the entire defense or offense, fine. But don't single guys out individually because you got to remember, these guys are going to band together. Before they go to bat for a coach, they're going to go to bat for each other. Okay? They're going to go to war for each other before they go to war for a coach. If they feel like the coach is at fault, they're going to go to bat for their brothers. If they think the player is at fault and he's going rogue, then they may go to bat for the coach and band together against that individual player, i.e. a Albert Hainsworth type situation. However, I can tell you this. The fact that I spent the first 15 to 20 minutes on this particular topic tells you that this is becoming a problem early in the season. I can't wait to see what Ron has to say on Wednesday when he has his presser to address the media, because this is going to be asked. He's not going to be able to duck this one. This won't be a situation where they'll tippy-toe around this. They're going to ask him about the Jamin Davis post. They're going to ask him, and I want to see what Ron says. And I think his answer is going to be crucial to getting this thing back on track. Now, that's one step. But you know what the biggest step is, right? I started with this. I will end this segment by telling you the same thing. Win. That's the best deodorant that you could put over any situation. Win. You do that, and it's a lot easier to criticize. It's a lot easier to correct. It's a lot easier to get guys to buy in when you win. You lose, guys start to question if you really know what the hell you're talking about. We'll see what happens. I want to talk about several different things today. I want to dive into the numbers. We're going to talk about some roster moves that have been made. And we're going to go around the NFC East again because the Eagles played last night, and I thought some of the reactions from some of you were comical. I had a really good chuckle at some of your expenses last night after watching the Eagles play against the Minnesota Vikings last night. So we'll talk about the division as a whole. I had a chance to watch the Dallas game. I watched the Giants game in its entirety now. And obviously I watched the Eagles game last night. So I have a greater clarity as to what has transpired within the division to this point. So we'll talk about that at the tail end of the show. But before we get to that, because I know me and I'll forget, it's time to give out some more tickets. Time to put some more asses in seats. Got a big one against the Philadelphia Eagles, our first divisional game of the season. It'd be nice to have the crowd show up the way that they did in week 1 against Jacksonville. Highly unlikely, especially coming off of a loss to the Detroit Lions. All that head of steam that you had built, you've lost most of it at this point. However, there is still a chance that you can salvage this thing, but you're going to have to go out and win, and you're probably going to have to do it with probably 50 to 55% capacity of your fans being in the stands, and the other 40 to 45% being Eagles fans. So you're going to have to probably do this off the strength of just being good, because there are going to be a ton of Eagles fans in the stands. That said, I'm going to do my part to put, Commander fans in the seats. And so if you are a member of the MOBB or Patreon and you want to enter in to win these tickets, use the hashtag STOP2, STOP2, hashtag STOP2. Okay. And so I'll also put that in the comment section, and I will pin that comment. So if you clearly didn't hear what I just said, or you need any instructions, hashtag STOP2, as in the second stop of the Carson Wentz revenge tour. STOP2 is the hashtag for the giveaway. Tickets to week 3's contest versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Hashtag STOP2 if you want the tickets. So we'll give those away on Wednesday, live on the Command Post or on Commander's Nightly News live on Wednesday night. So let's start by talking about some of the roster moves made. I was really intrigued by the defensive tackle that Washington was able to put in a waiver claim for and get from the Cowboys. So the Cowboys cut their 5th round defensive tackle that they selected, John Ridgeway, out of Arkansas. Now, to me, this is a steal. We just hurt the Cowboys and we helped ourselves in the process of getting John Ridgeway. So this is a guy that I was intrigued by. If you go back and watch my coverage of the Senior Bowl, this is a guy that flashed for me, and I talked about him on several days of the Senior Bowl week. Like, this is a guy that I really like, and I think there's something to this John Ridgeway guy. And sure enough, the Cowboys took him in the 5th round. They really liked him. And because they had injuries to other positions on the team, he was impacted and they had to cut him, and they were hoping that, so he made the 53-man roster initially, but they tried to sneak him onto the practice squad this week They wanted to cut him, release him because they had other injuries and they needed to sign other guys at other positions. And so they tried to cut him and sneak him through waivers and get him back to the practice squad. Well, not only did we put in a waiver claim, but the Eagles put one in as well. But because obviously we were worse than the Eagles last year, we had first dibs. And so we got John Ridgeway. That's a big pickup. To me, we had 8 draft picks this past year in the 2022 NFL draft. Make it 9. This is a draft pick, essentially. John Ridgeway is a draft pick, and I'm excited about it. If you want to be honest, 10 draft picks because you got Tariq Fields Castro as well. And to me, that's another draft pick. That was the 49ers 6th round draft pick. So you've got some young guys that you have a chance to work with now. And so I like this John Ridgeway pickup much better than Donovan Jeter, who they released in order to make space for John Ridgeway. I like this pickup a lot more, and I think this guy can come in and help us right away. So I'm excited about John Ridgeway and the potential that he has. And look at it this way. This is another guy, in addition to Fedarian Mathis, that's young, that's going to give us more depth on this defensive line overall for the next 4 to 5 years. I feel really good about the pickup of John Ridgeway. This isn't just a temporary Band-Aid like the Nick Martin signing that we just made, and I'll talk about that one here in a second. That's a temporary Band-Aid. There's no long-term, upside with Nick Martin. There's a ton of upside here with John Ridgeway as a defensive tackle in this league as a young guy. So I'm excited about that move. And you hurt Dallas in the process. Eagles were trying to get their hands on him as well. So I feel really good about this. And then Washington placed Chase Roulier on IR. I told you guys yesterday that the fear is that his season is done. He's getting a second opinion. They are waiting for the swelling to go down before they get that second opinion. I think his season's done. It sucks because it's 2 years in a row for Chase Roulier. This was a guy that never was hurt. He signed a new contract, and that next season he got injured, and now he's injured again. He bust his ass to get back from multiple ankle surgeries to be ready for week 1, and this is what happens. It's this business, man. I tell you, the NFL, it's a cutthroat business, man. And this has nothing to do with the contractual numbers side of things. This is just on the field. It's a cutthroat deal, man. It's not fair, but that's how it goes. So I think his season's done. And in response to that, Washington signed center Nick Martin, the brother of Zach Martin, the Cowboys All-Pro interior offensive lineman. Both of them went to Notre Dame, so I'm very aware of what Nick Martin brings to the table. Not nearly as good as his brother, obviously, but been around the league. Quality, NFL backup center, has started in multiple spots, was drafted by the Texans in the 2nd round, spent, 4 years there, then went to the Vegas Raiders, also played with the New Orleans Saints as well. So he's been around the league, solid interior guy, but our depth is being ate away at inside. The same thing happened to us last year at center. Remember, Wes Schweitzer was down, Chase Roulier was down, and then we lost Tyler. I forgot his last name. The other backup center, and he's still on the mend from his injury, which is why it'd be nice if he were ready to go. Wes Schweitzer, hamstring. We don't know what his status is, so you had to bring in a guy like Nick Martin, because right now we were dealing with another Martin in Wes Martin, who came in at the tail end of the Lions game. So we'll see what they decide to do. My guess is if Wes Schweitzer isn't ready to go, they'll go with Wes Martin inside at center, and they will have Nick Martin ready to go in case of an emergency. So, a couple of moves made by Washington. I'm really excited about the John Ridgeway move. Also, if you want some more good news from a injury standpoint, the injury concern with Daniel Wise is a high ankle sprain, which isn't good, but it's not an ACL or an Achilles or anything like that. So, and from what I'm hearing, it may be mild, meaning it's not one of those grade 3 type of ankle sprains, more like maybe a grade 2, maybe a low grade 1 high ankle sprain. High ankle sprains suck, regardless of the degree of it, 1, 2, or 3. But if it's a 2 or a 1, he may be back sooner than expected. Maybe you don't have to put him on IR. If it's a grade 3 sprain, he's going to be out for a considerable amount of time. So either way, he's going to be back at some point, which is news to my, ears. And Cam Curl is finally cleared, has been cleared for contact and ready to go. And so they're going to fit him for a splint for his thumb. They're going to go ahead, put a little soft cast on it. And the expectation is that he'll be out practicing this week and in the lineup for the Eagles game. And boy, could we use Cam Curl in a game where we're going to probably have to stop the run. Not probably, we're going to have to stop the run. So that's great news. And that will give us that 3 safety look that we were really hoping to have to start the season off. We're finally going to have an opportunity to see that. And it really may benefit us to put Cam Curl in there. And with what we've seen now from Derek Forrest, you should feel really good about the 3 safety look potentially. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, I want to dig inside the numbers a bit with you guys. So this defense has been frustrating. That's putting it mildly, but I'll leave it at frustrating. But this is something that we expected coming into the season. We hoped for the best, but we were expecting the worst with this defense, right? We weren't expecting this defense to come out and somehow be a top, 12 unit in the NFL. We were just hoping that they weren't bottom, 5 or 6 in the league, okay? Especially on third downs. And to this point, the defense actually, if you look at these numbers that I'm about to present to you, the defense actually hasn't been terrible. It just hasn't, I liken it to Scott Turner. They lack the situational awareness that we need from them at this current juncture, but they've actually been paying a great attention to detail in the most crucial of moments. It's just not consistent. So I want to start with the defense, and I'm going to give you some offensive stats because I'm trying to remain positive about this season. And look, there's so much football left. And here's something you have to understand about Ron Rivera coached teams. They start slow, they finish fast. If we could just not start abysmally and find a way to just tread water, meaning that we get to week 8 and we're 4-4 or we're 5-3, hell, even 3-5, which I wouldn't co-sign that. But if history repeats itself, there will be some sort of 4 or 5 game win streak at some point, more likely than not, later on in the season as we get to November. There will be a 4-game win streak if history repeats itself. In 2020, there was a 4-game win streak. When we were 2-7, we reeled off 4 straight and got to 6-7. Last season in 2021, we were 2-2. We were 2-6 at the bye week. We come out of the bye week. We win 4 straight, including a win over the Super Bowl defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. And we get back to 6-6 before COVID and injuries hit and the season fell apart at the seams. So if history repeats itself here in Washington, there will be a 4-game win streak, probably a little bit later on in the season. And if you can position yourself to really benefit from the 4-game win streak, you'll have a chance. You'll have a chance. So what I'm saying effectively is we don't need this team to be 6-2. It'd be nice. It'd be nice. But if they're just 4-4 when that 4-game win streak hits, now you're 8-4. Now you're right squarely in the middle of the playoff discussion as we come down home stretch. And remember, we have a late bye this season. So you'll be rested, rejuvenated, and ready to hit the ground running for that stretch run. You just got to get there having a chance. So I offer you these numbers as my token of appreciation to you guys hanging in there with this team because it can be very frustrating at times. here's my peace offering and my one attempt to get you to stay on board and remain somewhat positive. It's hard, man. I know it's hard, especially after some of you watched what the Eagles did last night. It became increasingly harder to be positive. I tell you, and hell, even watching the Cowboys and seeing how they were able to overcome adversity and win, you're thinking to yourself, that's not what we're doing here. Hold on one second. So defensively, here's what I offer you. On third downs, this was supposed to be our Achilles heel. Third downs, we couldn't stop them last season. We were 31st in the league. We were giving it up at a 58% clip last season. Only Jacksonville was worse on third downs as a defensive unit. The preseason was just as bad. It was a carryover. We didn't stop the Carolina Panthers on, two of their three first third downs in the game, and only a fumbled snap really put us in position to get off the field there. Patrick Mahomes was 5 of 5, and so we were like, oh my God, here we go again. Jacksonville in week 1, 3 of 12 on third downs. For all of the shit that happened in week 2 versus Detroit, all the explosive plays, all the points that we gave up, 4 of 13 on third downs for the Detroit Lions. Right now, this Washington Commanders defense is 7 of 25 right now on third downs for a whopping 28%. That is good for 4th in the NFL, 4th best in the NFL on third downs. We're getting off the field. And I remember after the Jacksonville game, I was like, I don't know about this third down defense still, because there were a lot of fluky things that happened. Trevor Lawrence missed a guy that was open for a touchdown. Daron Payne batted down a couple of balls that looked like guys were open, and it might have been a first down had he not done that. And Trevor Lawrence missed some guys that were open. So I was like, I don't know. They could have easily been 8 of 12 if Trevor Lawrence were a little sharper. And they would have maybe had even more opportunities. And maybe it would have been, 9 of 17 or something like that had he converted some of those. But he didn't. Last week against the Lions, those were legitimate stops on third down. These weren't fluky, Jared Goff missed a guy. Oh, man, we caught a break there, batted ball. Nah, we didn't get any breaks last week. We made all of those breaks last week against Detroit. 4 of 13 is legit, okay? When we got off the field, because we made plays on third down. So it's 7 of 25 for a whopping 28%, 4th best in the league. You can win football games with that, okay? If this continues, small sample size, obviously, we'll get a big test this week against the Eagles, but small sample size, I will grant you that. But that's a winning formula. You can bottle that up for 17 weeks. We're going to have a chance defensively, okay? Something else I want to throw out there. 4th downs. Another big stat in the NFL now with teams going for it on 4th down more than ever before. In week 1, Jacksonville, 0 of 1. You could say, hey, Travis Etienne catches the football. He walks into the end zone. That would have been a touchdown. They would have been 1 for 1 on 4th downs. Yep, touche. I got nothing for you. But he didn't catch it. They're 0 of 1. And so you go to the week 2 against Detroit. 0 of 2 for the Lions on 4th down. And those were 2 legitimate 4th down stops. Okay? 2 legitimate, we made plays to get them off the field on 4th down stops that gave us a chance in that ball game. Right now, 0% for the opposing team against our defense on 4th downs. 0 of 3. Again, small sample size, and we're going to see as the season progresses how that holds up. But right now, the defense is getting it done on crucial down and distances, 3rd down and 4th down. Okay? How about red zone defense? Another big number. Okay? We were terrible we were middle of the pack last season as a red zone defense. We gave it up at around a 59% clip. Teams got in the red zone, and they were scoring roughly 6 out of every 10 times they were in the red zone, they were scoring a touchdown. Okay? League average is roughly about 48% or so, right around that 50% mark. It's hard to keep teams out of the end zone. It really, truly is. This year, right now, 6 of 11 is Washington in terms of the red zone defense. That's 54%. That's middle of the pack in the league right now. That's not atrocious. That's right around where most of the teams in the league are. So I'm telling you, the red zone defense isn't terrible. The third down defense is actually exceptional right now. The fourth down defense is as good as it gets right now, and that'll change, obviously, as you get into 4th and inches and 4th and 1, and teams are able to convert some of those. You know, that'll change. But right now, in the most crucial of situations, this defense is responding. So what is actually killing us then? Why are we giving up 36 to the Lions, 22 to the Jags, but really that easily could have been 30 or 40 points if the Jags would have taken advantage of some of the opportunities that were presented in front of them? Why are we putting ourselves in a position? Why is it that the Jaguars had 5 trips to the red zone and the Lions had 6? That's too many trips to the red zone in 2 weeks. That's 11 trips. That's way too many. Why is that occurring? Well, here's why. Chunk plays. Chunk plays are absolutely killing us, which is what Ron Rivera referred to. I didn't think that the chunk plays were the reason we lost, because we had an opportunity to get off the field after those chunk plays, but it's a huge contributing factor as to why we lost and almost lost to Jacksonville. In each of the first 2 weeks, we've given up 8 chunk plays apiece for a grand total of 16 chunk plays. That is 5th worst in the league right now. Too many damn chunk plays. You're giving up 8. So what is a chunk play? What constitutes a chunk play in the NFL? Okay. So any pass that is 16 yards or more is considered a chunk play. Any run that is 12 yards or more is considered a chunk play. Okay. And depending on who you ask, those numbers can vary. For some, a chunk play is any pass over 20 yards, any rush over 10. But I like 16 because a lot of offenses like Sean McVay, for instance, they're not looking to scheme it up to get over the top for a 58-yard touchdown. If it comes, they'll take it. But they're scheming up to get you for an 18-yard gain because in their mind, that's a chunk play. Keep in mind, an NFL field is 100 yards. If you take a touchback on a kickoff, you're starting at the 25. You've got 75 yards to move the football down the field. If you get a 15-yard completion, you're essentially, what is that? A 5th of the way? You're a 5th of the way towards getting into the end zone. So to me, a 16-yard pass is a chunk play. So we've given up 8 chunk plays in each of the first 2 weeks. That is a backbreaker because statistics show that if you give up 1 chunk play on a drive, a team is 10% more likely to score a touchdown. If you give up 2, it's 30% more likely to score. And anything above 2, 50% more likely to score a touchdown on a drive. So as you give up chunk plays, teams gain confidence, they get closer towards the end zone, and the likelihood of them scoring a touchdown increases. We've been giving up way too many chunk plays. It's not because of the third down defense. It's not because of the fourth down defense. Hell, even the red zone defense has been solid. It's the fact is we're giving up too many chunk plays, and this defense is having to defend the red zone too often. Now, you could go to the next question. Well, how do we fix this? How do we stop giving up chunk plays? This is where we go back to the beginning of the show. This is where the dilemma lies. Is it the players or is it the coaches? I think it's a confluence of both. Have you guys seen the play? The DeAndre Swift play? That's circulating around social media now. Okay, the all 22 copy of that is out. Okay. If you haven't seen it, Mark Bullock on Twitter, I think it's Mark Bullock NFL or NFL Mark Bullock, one or the other. He already has the all 22 of that. I'm still waiting on my all 22s. They haven't shown up on the NFL website yet. But that's out there right now. And on that play, Ron made it seem as if somebody didn't do their job, and the somebody I thought was Jamin Davis. And I explained to you on yesterday's show what I thought happened, and if you want that explanation, go to yesterday's show and take a listen. However, watching it again, I think Jamin Davis was in the right. I think he was supposed to blitz on that play, And the reason I say that is because we were in zone coverage. If we were playing man-to-man, I would have felt like Jamin Davis was in the wrong. We were in zone. And we blitzed 6 guys, and 5 guys were back in coverage, all with their eyes on quarterback. Meaning, when DeAndre Swift caught that football, 5 guys had a chance to rally to the football and make a tackle, him short of the sticks. Mind you, the man fell on the ground to catch the football, rolled over, got up, dusted himself off, dusted the ball off, and then proceeded to cut back twice for a touchdown. If you look at that play, the lack of hustle, the lack of urgency that I'm seeing from guys like Benjamin St-Juste and William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller, and hell, even Derek Force is laughable on that play. Makes me sick to my stomach. If I'm a coach, I'm fuming, and I'm telling these guys, if I see this shit again, you're coming out. Now, I don't know. We're not in a position to do that. I just named every single starter, sans for Bobby McCain, who was the only guy playing like his hair was on fire on that snap. He came up and he made a tackle attempt and he went flying by because he was moving 1,000,000 miles per second. But damn it, at least he was doing it going 110 miles an hour. At least he was doing it hustling. Everybody else looked like, oh, Bobby got it. Oh, Derek got it. Oh, shit. William got it. Somebody else got it. Don't nobody got it. And your ass don't got it because you ain't running to the damn football. Good things happen when you run and hustle to the rock. We seem to be lacking that. Is that a coaching problem or is that a player problem? Because I know some coaches out there, specifically Dan Quinn in Dallas, who preaches, hey, 11 hats to the football. If you're not hustling, you're not playing for me. That's a mentality that you instill in your players. So is that the coaching staff not instilling that in the players? But then again, that's also something that I grew up. This was a mantra of every coach that I ever had. Son, you don't have to be talented to have hustle and effort. That's not a God-given ability. That's inside of you. You got to want it. That's not a coaching thing. That's a you thing. That was instilled in me as a youth coming up in the game. How hard you play, that's a you thing. Now, I demand that you play hard, but at its core, as a man, as a player, have some pride about yourself. I always talk about tackling being like rebounding in the NBA. It's about want to. Right now, our guys don't want to. Not enough for me, in my liking. Right now, offensively, that's what I'm hanging my hat on. That's the one beacon of light that I have, and the only reason that I'm optimistic that this season can still be what I want it to be is because we can score points. It'd be nice if the defense created some turnovers. If you're going to be giving up all these opportunities and big plays, you got to have some type of way to offset that. But offensively, they're just scratching the surface. They haven't played a full 4 quarters of offense yet, and we've scored 28 and 27 respectively in the first 2 games. So when I look at this offense, that's where I think we have a chance to be really, really problematic for teams this season. In the first game against Jacksonville, 2 of 2 in the red zone. In the game against Detroit, we were 3 of 3 in the red zone. Obviously, we're batting 1,000 in the red zone. And so we're number 1 in the league in red zone efficiency. We're tied with Dallas. Dallas didn't even make a trip into the red zone in week 1 against Tampa Bay. They made 2 trips in the red zone against the Cincinnati Bengals and scored on both of them. So technically, they're not even on our level right now because we've been there 5 times and their sample size is much smaller. We're the only team in the league this season to not attempt a field goal. Now, while that could be a good thing, on one hand, we're not settling for field goals. On the other hand, it's a bad thing because we're not even getting into position enough to where, drive stalls out at the 31. And so now you got to settle for a 49-yard field goal. We're not even getting to that point enough. So what it's also saying, though, if you want to flip it on its head and have it be a positive, what it's saying is, hey, when we get to the 31, we're getting all the way into the red zone, and then we get all the way into the end zone. So we're not having drives stall out at the 37 or the 34 or the 31 or the 23. We're getting all the way down into the red zone, and we're scoring touchdowns. And we had one drive that the Jaguars helped us on that we would have had to settle for a field goal, but they roughed Carson Wentz. We got new life, and we got into the end zone. We made them pay for it. So the offense, highly effective right now when they are protecting Carson Wentz. Chunk plays for the offense, 6 in each of the first 2 games. 6 against Jacksonville, 6 against Detroit. That's right around the middle of the pack in the NFL. I'd like to see that increase. But you know what'll help? The defense getting off the field, giving them more opportunities. Because once we get into a rhythm, as you saw against Detroit, we're going to be tough to stop. 2 quarters against Jacksonville, 28 points. 2 quarters against Detroit, 27 points. This offense has a chance to be it has a chance to be as explosive as any in the league. We just have to play for 4 quarters. And that is why I think we'll have a chance to be in the mix, not only in this division or as a playoff team, but making some noise if we could just be consistent and score points. And you know what that also does offensively, staying on the field? It takes the defense off the field. It keeps them fresh. They weren't fresh in week 2 against Detroit. Quite the contrary. The offense was so bad, it kept putting the defense on the field, and at some point, you knew the dam was going to break. And oh boy, did it ever. If the offense can be more consistent, the defense is on the field less, and it's going to give us a chance. I truly believe that. So, we go around the NFC East real quick. Dallas had an improbable victory. That was actually impressive. Michael Parsons is a beast. That game against the Giants is going to be fun because I don't believe in the Giants yet. I don't believe in the Cowboys either. But both of those teams are playing really good defense right now. And so that easily could be a 15-12 game. Okay? That's going to be fun on Monday night. The Eagles come to Washington. They destroyed the Vikings last night, 24-7. The first half, the Eagles' offense looked unstoppable. The defense played well, but the Vikings had every opportunity to win that football game. If you left that game last night saying there's no chance that Washington can win, I can't help you. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. If you watched that game last night and said, oh shit, this defense is in trouble, I left saying the same thing. We're going to have to score a lot of points because this defense is going to be in trouble. They got their hands full with Jalen Hurts and that offense. I left saying that. And if we can't get to Hurts and he's comfortable or he's running around using his legs, he was effective with his legs and his arm last night, we're in trouble. But I also feel like they're going to have their hands full with our offense too. And I don't think their pass rush is all that great. So if we can protect Carson Wentz, we're going to be able to go after their defense. I truly believe that. But we'll see. We got way more time to talk about that as the week progresses. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I appreciate you guys chopping it up with me. Leave it down in the comment section. I said a lot of shit today. A lot. There's a lot to digest here. Leave it down in the comment section along with #StopTo. If you're interested in those Commanders tickets, remember, the drawing will be live tomorrow night on Commanders Nightly News Live. So if you're interested, please use the hashtag down in the comment section. Again, you have to be a member of the MOBB or on Patreon. Until next time, I'm your man Louie T signing off, saying God bless and good night.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.